This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Every Wednesday, we're digging into politics, and this week we're chatting with Councilmember Jamie Gauthier. She represents the 3rd District and has spent her time in City Council pushing for more affordable housing. I sat down with her in her City Hall office. It's Wednesday, April 16th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Big news. You tweeted that the mayor reversed course on a decision to, stop the city's SEPTA Zero Fare and Key Advantage programs.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be back for city employees.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think these are such beneficial programs. They make working for the city of Philadelphia better, right? It's a great job perk, but also for low-income people and people who are struggling every single day. It was such a nice benefit to be able to provide free transit. And it was something that helps SEPTA, right? So a lot of us didn't really understand the decision to get rid of these programs. But I do want to thank Mayor Parker for reversing course. And I also want to thank Minority Whip Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke, who really has led in the advocacy on this issue.
So you guys are in the thick of budget hearings. How's the process been going for you?
It's been going well. There are a lot of things that I am excited about in the mayor's budget, whether we're talking about the $800 million proposed investment in housing, which is right up my alley.
Yeah, it's a big issue you've been working on.
Yeah, or, more support for things like Vision Zero and our school district. So I think there are a lot of things to be excited about in the mayor's proposal. And this process with the hearings with City Council is about finding more out about the proposal, but also making sure that the budget reflects the things that our constituents need. And so far, so good. We've been having some meaningful discussions with the administration.
Anything in the budget that you want to change or you want to see more of?
Yeah, so definitely the zero fare piece was important to me and a lot of other council members. So I'm excited that will be in there. In terms of what we'd like to see more of, one thing that gravely concerns me is the $5 million cut to the Office of Homeless Services budget. I don't understand the logic for this. Street homelessness is up significantly.
Especially in the Black community here in Philly.
Yes. For the 3rd year in a row, I believe. This is the time to add resources to the Office of Homeless Services, not to detract resources. We have to make sure that everyone in the city of Philadelphia is safely and securely housed. And that connects with the mayor's biggest priority this year, her home initiative. So I'm very confused and concerned, but I do know that this is something that we have to rectify to make sure that we are caring for our citizens.
And you've been working, really pushing for more affordable housing across the city. Is housing the biggest challenge that the city is facing?
I agree that with the mayor, that housing is up there at the top. I think, when you don't have people housed securely, then that turns into economic opportunity issues because maybe they can't hold down a job. That turns into mental health issues because they don't know where they're going to lay their head at night. It can even turn into violence issues if people are being shuttled all about the city to places that they are unfamiliar with and where they don't have a support network. And so I fully believe that housing is a human right. And I also believe that housing is a good return on investment for our city, because when people are housed securely, it allows them to thrive in almost every other area of their life. So yes, I agree that it has to be up there, and I'm excited to see a proposal for a bold investment in housing, $800 million, and we already have great housing programs in the city of Philadelphia. But what we don't always have is the funding we need to drive those programs. And so I think that this infusion of cash will allow us to support programs like basic systems repair. That program provides grant money for people to make the type of critical repairs to their homes that if they did not have those repairs, they could be displaced. So the opportunity to infuse this program with additional resources is a big one. Things like eviction diversion. The home initiative funds are targeted to provide more resources to eviction diversion. This is a program that I helped to create in 2020 with former Councilmember Gim and Minority Leader Councilmember Kendra Brooks, which requires mediation between tenants and landlords before a landlord is able to evict. And this program has, staved off thousands, over 12,000 potential evictions in the city of Philadelphia, which is significant. Prior to the creation of eviction diversion, Philadelphia was noted as the fourth highest evicting city in the whole country. And when we created eviction diversion, which is a much more compassionate response, we saw evictions go down significantly.
And it got national attention, right?
National attention from the White House. And I also think it's important to note who we're talking about. When we're talking about evictions, we're talking mostly about Black and brown women with children that are out on the street without housing. So I think it's great that we'll put more resources towards that critical initiative and to things like targeted financial assistance. That's where we put money directly into the hands of landlords to help tenants with their rent gap. And when paired with eviction diversion, we have been able to keep thousands of people in their homes. And so because the affordable housing crisis in Philadelphia is so much a funding issue, I think it is very appropriate that we, would be wanting to make a bold investment of $800 million into the programs that people use every day. And I commend the mayor for that and look forward to learning more about the plan. We're going to have hearings on the plan where we really get to dig into it and ask questions and hopefully to get our priorities in. My priority for that plan that is supposed to preserve or create 30,000 units is that the majority of those units are affordable housing units.
Is it enough? Is 30,000 units enough?
30,000 units is, yes, it's pretty significant. And so 30,000 would be a big infusion into Philadelphia's affordable housing stock and would be nothing but a benefit to the city. Now, we need for more to happen than just money. I think money is a big part of it, but I also think it will require streamlining the city's processes and making it quicker, cheaper, and easier to preserve and deliver affordable housing. So those are things that we'll have to work on as a city as well. And that's also the focus of my Defying Displacement campaign.
Okay, tell me about that campaign.
Yeah, so this is actually the second phase of Defying Displacement. We launched this campaign, the first phase of it, maybe about a year ago.
And it's supposed to curb gentrification and create affordable housing, right?
It's all about anti-displacement. So the first phase of Defying Displacement created Philadelphia's new low-income property tax freeze, which has been in effect since last fall. We also strengthened enforcement around Section 8 voucher discrimination, and we created a ballot measure, which will be on the ballot this May, asking voters if money that comes to the city from our density bonus program, which developers can pay the city to have more affordable, more density, should go into our actual housing trust fund as intended. So the ballot measure, if it's successful, will put much more money into the housing trust fund. So that was phase one. Phase two is all about streamlining the processes by which affordable housing is actually developed. So phase two, is, if successful, will allow for affordable housing projects to get permitted by the city faster, to receive a hearing at the Zoning Board of Adjustments faster and for a cheaper cost. And phase two will also streamline the development of accessory dwelling units, or as I like to call them, bonus units. So one of the cool things we're wanting to do with this phase of the campaign is empower, homeowners to build ADUs within their existing housing units. So an accessory dwelling unit is just another unit of housing. It could be outside of a structure, but in this case, we're talking about inside of a structure. So think about maybe a duplex, right? So imagine, for example, I am an elderly person. I have a huge home in, let's say, Spruce Hill in my district, and I want to stay in my community because that's where I'm, familiar with. But this house doesn't meet my needs, and it's just too much house for me. I could build a bonus unit inside my existing home. I could move into that unit, which might be more appropriate for me as an elderly person. And maybe I can have my older children move in and help to support me. And that allows me to stay in my community, and it allows for my family to build generational wealth. Or imagine, for example, that I'm a homeowner and I'm just struggling with my existing housing costs. I could build a bonus unit inside my structure and create an affordable housing opportunity for someone else in the community while bringing in revenue that allows me to pay my bills in an easier way. We allow for accessory dwelling units in 4 council districts currently: the 1st council district, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 7th. However, you only can build them by going through a variance process. And for the average person who lives in Philadelphia, the zoning variance process is complicated to understand, it's lengthy, and it's costly. And so my bill, as a part of the defined displacement package, says since homeowners are building these units inside an existing structure, they're not changing anything about the outside of their home or the character of their block, we should empower them to do this and to do it by right, because that will allow us to build much more affordable housing in communities. So I'm hopeful that we can get all those bills across the finish line. And I think it ties in with Mayor Parker's home initiative. We not only need to fund affordable housing, we need to make sure that we're making it easier for people to preserve and build it.
We'll talk more about some other initiatives that you're working on after this break. Filler Club is a private city club in the heart of Center City, designed as a third space for the modern city dweller, equal parts professional, social, and cultural hub. Located across from 30th Street Station, there's a boutique hotel with 14 thoughtfully designed rooms, perfect for members, friends, and family. And membership gets you access to dining, events, and a full fitness suite with an indoor pool, climbing wall, and spa services. Filler Club's work and innovation hub, ideal for entrepreneurs, remote workers, and teams of colleagues. And when you're thinking about work, there's everything from shared desks to private offices and boardrooms. Learn more about Filler Club becoming your third space, where work, community, and leisure intersect. Get more details at fillerclub.com/citycast membership.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new next-gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
Let's talk about safe streets. There was a lot of tension, or there is a lot of tension between drivers and bikers and pedestrians and delivery drivers. Everything from parking limits, protected bike lanes, new ticketing technology is getting everyone kind of riled up. What are some of your priorities when it comes to Vision Zero?
I think that we should be doing everything that we can to make our streets safer for all users, especially the most vulnerable users who are pedestrians and cyclists. But the good news is the changes that we make to protect the most vulnerable people on our streets also protect drivers and keep them safe as well. And so this is a high priority for me. I have worked overtime in my district on road diets, protected bike lanes, red light cameras, speed enforcement, because I believe in this cause so strongly. I believe that crashes are a policy failure, and we should be doing all that we can to use infrastructure to make our roads safer for every single person that's using them. And so I like to think of my district almost as a model for what we can be doing all over the city. And I've worked hand in hand with Otis and with Streets.
Otis is the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems.
Yeah, on Walnut Street, on Chestnut Street, on 47th and 48th Street in my district, near 30th Street, to make safer streets a reality.
You had an experience back in 2022 where you had to duck for cover because there was a shooting in Mantua. Can you explain to me what happened and how it impacted you? And how does that type of an experience help you with policy decision making?
Yeah. So this was a warm, beautiful day. I believe it was late afternoon, 2:00, 3:00. I was coming from a community event celebrating people who work on violence prevention in our neighborhoods. And I was walking to my car with a community partner. He was walking me to my car. Funnily, I did not remember where I parked. So we were walking around looking for my car. And as we got near my car, I heard gunshots. And I turned and I saw someone was shooting at someone else. And I didn't know. I've never been in that situation before. I did not know what to do. And thank goodness I was with my friend and community leader, Dwayne. And he told me to get in the car and get on the floor of the car. And we did until the shooting stopped. And then we were able to drive away. It was terrifying. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die in that car. I thought they were going to shoot in the car accidentally, and that I was going to die. And that was a terrifying experience for me, but ultimately I drove away. So that helped me to understand what my constituents go through, or some of my constituents go through on a regular basis. If you watch the news, it can feel like gun violence is happening everywhere. It is not. Gun violence tends to happen in the same spots or in proximity to the same spots over and over and over again. And they tend to be the same areas where there are high levels of poverty, high levels of disinvestment, unsafe streets, crumbling parks and rec centers. And so you have this dynamic where people feel trapped. People feel trapped, and they want to know what the city is going to do to make it better. And that was a part of what drove me during that time period. I spent a lot of my time from 2020, even before that experience, until we really, and I'm still fighting for it, but I mean, in an intense way, until we saw those numbers go down, advocating for the mayor to declare an emergency around the issue of gun violence, standing up with my colleagues and saying we wouldn't pass a budget that didn't include at least $100 million for violence prevention programs, and anything else I could to bring more attention to this issue. Because outside of that experience happening to me, in 2020, starting in 2020, when those numbers really started going up, I would visit these sites where violence was happening, and people had no idea what the city was doing. Other than a police response, the police showing up, the medical examiner showing up, people had no idea what we were doing to help them during times where we were seeing gun violence at levels like we had never seen.
How did you show constituents that you were putting in the work?
I just started advocating around this if it were the life and death issue that it is. That was when I put forward the resolution calling on Mayor Kenney to declare a public health emergency around the issue of gun violence. And the reason why I did that is because I saw at that same time how we were responding to COVID. We were seeing the mayor or the health commissioner or the managing director on the TV every single day talking about cases, how to protect yourself, how we get out, what we're doing to get out of this. We should have been doing that with gun violence. We saw the mayor use his bully pulpit to get people like Brian Roberts and other wealthy people to give money to the city for laptops, for example, so that all the school children could work from home. There was no reason why there couldn't have been a bully pulpit calling on more resources for violence prevention. We saw every city agency being told that their top priority was COVID and that they should work together. So you saw things like Parks and Rec, for example, immediately mobilized once schools were closed to make sure that students who need meals could get meals at their local rec center and could do their work right from their local rec center if they couldn't be at school. I thought we could have had the same type of mobilization and priority for gun violence. Outside of a police response, every city agency should have been focused on this issue because that's how dire it was during those few years. Some of that work and that advocacy has paid off, and we're still seeing the results of it today. So as I mentioned before, during that time period, I stood up with Council President now Kenyatta Johnson and other colleagues to say we're not going to pass your budget, Mayor Kenney, unless it includes $100 million for violence prevention. We won that year, and every year since, we've seen historic investments at levels the city had not been doing before in community-based violence prevention programs. And those levels of funding have stayed stayed, pretty high. There are whole violence prevention programs that would not exist right now if it weren't for the advocacy that we did. The city also is investing more in its public safety office, which handles sort of, I would say, the non-police response and pulls together all the city agencies to try to serve impacted people and communities as it relates to violence prevention. And we're seeing the results of that good work. We are seeing historically low levels of gun violence right now. And I truly believe it's because of the advocacy that we did. And it's because we got resources into the hands of the people doing the work in our communities. And certainly we still have a way to go. I've been very troubled by what we've been seeing among young people, specifically as it relates to gun violence. But thank goodness we're out of that time period because it was just devastating, especially for the third district, as well as across the city.
Councilmember, you mentioned rec centers, and I saw a video of you with a hard hat at King Sessing Rec. You grew up there, right?
Yeah.
When will that rec center open up again? Because there's been some money being poured into redevelopment.
That's a big project. I would say it's near at least $25 million in improvements to the rec center. So unfortunately, it's a large project. It's a historic building. It has a long timeline. So it's not going to fully open until next summer. But we're on the path to finality, which feels good. And I'm expecting that the pool will open this summer, which will be great for people. I'm so excited about this renovation in particular. Not only was this my rec center as a child, but it's such a beloved place in the community. It brings together so many diverse people. And I think it's going to be the quality, state of the art center that people deserve. And I'm really excited to cut a ribbon there soon.
Generally speaking, sometimes when I'm watching some of the council hearings, you hold a newspaper and you denounce President Donald Trump and some of the measures we've seen come out of his administration. What kind of role do you have as a local Democrat in pushing back on what's coming out of the White House? Because communities, various groups, schools, we're all looking at federal cuts.
Yeah. Well, first, I think it's very important to stand up. Even as a local district council member, I think it's important for all of our elected officials to stand up and to denounce the hateful, authoritarian activities and tactics that we're seeing come from this White House and from the president. It's so un-American and against everything that our country is supposed to stand for. So I do think protest is important. I do think using a bully pulpit is important. Speaking up and letting our people know that we don't stand for this and that we're going to fight back and that we're going to have their backs, whether we're talking about Trump's attacks on immigrants or the LGBTQ plus community or anybody else who feels themselves targeted and terrorized by the president in this moment. I also think that we should fight back. I've seen, localities like Baltimore, for example, sue President Trump and be successful in federal court. We saw AGs from across the country in that first week of the administration sue the president and get an injunction around what he was trying to do in terms of freezing all federal funding. We've seen universities stand up, some of them stand up and fight back.
University of Pennsylvania is in your district, and
yes.
They're getting impacts from these cuts.
Well, yes, they are. And it's because as a fascist, the president would like to control educational institutions, which have traditionally been centers of activism and diversity and a place where people can have free-flowing ideas. So Penn is squarely in the crosshairs of the president, as many other prominent institutions, educational institutions are. My push to Penn is to fight back, to stop complying in advance, because it won't stop. He's going to keep going. That's what a fascist is going to do. Stand up and fight back, like we've seen with other institutions across this country, because it's important for these educational institutions to stand up for their missions and to let their students know that they're going to be protected on, these campuses.
You mentioned the tactic of suing. Are you asking for the city to sue?
I would not mind the city standing up and saying, you can't do this to us. We've seen when people fight back that sometimes people win. We saw that with the funding freeze that was attempted. We saw that with some of these other lawsuits. We even saw that with one of our federal grants around the city's tree plan. We spoke up about that grant being frozen, and then the next day it was magically unfrozen. I would say to anybody listening, if Trump's vision of the world is not your vision of the world, and that vision of the world, to be clear, is a vision where only wealthy white men succeed and have freedoms. If that's not the vision that you have for the world, you need to fight back. There are more of us than there are of them. And we have no choice but to stand up against our country turning into a place that we don't recognize. And that's my advice, not just for the city of Philadelphia or University of Pennsylvania, but everyone. We have no choice. And then lastly, I would say, beyond the fighting back, I think it's up to the city and the state to fund the things that our constituents need. The federal government is no longer a reliable partner for us. So that means that whether we're talking about housing or transit or education, we are going to have to do more to fund ourselves. And that's why this budget process is so important.
Thank you for your time and for speaking with me on CityCast Philly today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this one-on-one with the council member, share this with your neighbor. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.